Here we go. Are you ready for another really exciting video on project finance modeling? In this one, if you have sent me a nice little email asking for the what is it, the Google Drive, and I send you it back. I give you this one called in the exercises. This was in chapter number 1, folder number 2, project finance model exercises, and then we have the exercise number 4, project finance working analysis of Capex and EBITDA. Okay, and this follows on directly from exercise number 3, in which we put all of the inputs in. The reason I paused was I had thought I had deleted all this rubbish, and apparently I haven't. Okay, and also we have not, in this one, we apparently have not added the we put our own color thing in, and that's why we didn't add the other macros. Let's again add the macros as fast as we possibly can. So here, this is the one that exists. It's going to put it in a new module, so we'll go to File, Import File, and I promise not to complain too much this time. And okay, there I hope I'm doing the right one. Open it. That shouldn't have taken all that long. It makes a new module, and this one will run each time you open it, but now all of our macros will be ready to go. So what we'll do is we'll take these assumptions and we're going to work through the crucial issues of what are the Capex, EBITDA, what's the pre-tax cash flow, and the pre-tax IRR. And just to give you some introduction to this, we'll work through some timeline issues. I'm going to make this purely a monthly model. Now, just to, if you want to, I think, be really quite advanced on the project finance, you could make all your operating analysis on a monthly basis, but your project financing on a monthly followed by a semi-annual basis. You could also do your project finance on a semi-annual basis, but then you would have to only have the repayments occur in specific periods. Either way, it's okay. All right. And we're going to have some issues. We're going to use the match and the index a whole lot. No, we won't a whole lot. We'll use the match and the index to read some inputs in. We'll use a lookup. Please, 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 not a V lookup or an H lookup. Never. Not never, but we'll use a regular lookup. Now, when we use a lookup, we might have to do a little modification of the Excel lookup. So this will be hopefully a little more interesting and a little more advanced. We'll have a little bit of a problem with this S-curve to make sure that if we finish ahead of schedule, we still add up to 100%. And we'll put some scenario analysis. Again, this I think we'll use the regular old lookup a whole lot for entering these things. Finally, I put some very, very general titles in here, but not really specific. We're going to have to add some. So here's to start the model. I think what we need to do is first put the units. Okay, that's pretty obvious that this is a date. We start with the end, not the beginning. Start with the closing balance. And have we left enough columns? I think we've probably left enough columns. This might be a matter of style, and I noticed some people didn't really like this. So we can take this and put -1. That's our starting period. Okay. Now okay, and then we add 1 to get our opening, and then since we're doing it on a monthly basis, put edate, go up to this one, press number 1, and don't forget to press the -1. I do that a lot, and then it messes everything up. Okay, and then I'm pressing Shift Control R, and we've got all the dates. I hope that's the last time we press this. Now, if we want the days in the period, we can simply take the end date minus the start date plus 1. The Shift Control R. Oops. That was my fault, not the macros. Okay. And we can also get the hours. And even though it's not true that there are not 24 hours in a day because of daylight savings time, we're going to make a radical assumption that there are. And then we can just put the year. That, with daylight saving time happens, you've got 1 hour with 1 day with 1 more hour and 1 day with 1 less hour. And then let's put the construction phase and the operation phase. We'll later add a depreciation phase. No, let's add a few more. We might want to know also the commercial operation. Okay, and we might also want to know the decommissioning. Okay, so we're going to let's put a series of inputs in here, and for these, here's I think a pretty good way to do it. Let's put the start date of the construction and the end date, and the end date means the start date means we begin construction in this month. The end date means we finished just before this month. Okay, and if we just put an AND function, this is very much like the last exercise. This time I'm pressing F4 twice. If that's greater than or equal to this one, and let's press the F4 key 3 times. And then let's go up to the top and press the F4 key twice, and then put less than, not less than or equal to, less than. Oh no! Yeah, no. I haven't made a mistake yet, have I? Have I made a mistake yet? Okay. Shift Control R, and then Shift Control T, Shift Control F. Those are from the macros. And then here I find this a very helpful little check, COUNTIF, and select all this and press true. Okay, so there are 52 periods of construction, and there were supposed to be 52 periods. Maybe I made 2 mistakes, but what we can do is leave this column as kind of a special little column where we check our answers and make sure they're true. Now, the good news about this next one is I think I can copy this and paste it just here. Of course, I couldn't. I better put the start date of the operation here, and then the end date of the operation, which is the decommissioning date. And let's just take this away and see. Well, we've got 285 months of operation, and we were supposed to have 25 years. I bet you that. I have no idea whether that works. So let's put equal this times 12. Ah. Okay, and I'm sure you noticed I paused. Well, I cheated, but I didn't want to waste your time. The problem was not, I made an error on purpose, all right, just to show you how this works. The problem was that we didn't go far enough, so we need to go a few. I'm just copying it, shift and forward arrow, and then simply Control R. So now we have a few falses at the end. And now how many? Oh no, it still didn't work. And oh, of course we have to redo our count if. Oh, I see. Oh no, did I? Yeah, I switched it to French. Okay. Aha. Oops. What happened to this negative number? Was that in there before? So now we have 300, and I hope 300 equals 25 times 12. So that's a little bit embarrassing that I didn't know that before. Now, I suppose, well, I'm gonna try this. Let's put the commercial operation date as the start and the end date. Okay. Nope, that won't work. We're just gonna put it here. We could do something fancier, but I think the easiest thing to do is just going to take this top date, F4 a couple of times, F4 3 times. I'm about to lose it, but I won't. I promise I'm not going to. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2 equal this one. I haven't sworn in a video in about 4 of them, I think. Well, maybe 3. Shift Control R. Why did it jump up there? Okay, and let's put a decommissioning period. I don't really know why we'll use that except for one thing. Now, you know, in 1984, when I made one of my first project finance models, we were so happy with an annual model that was on one page, and I think we should have been. Oh no. Come. Okay, I'm about to swear. Control D. Why didn't the Control D just work? Okay. Shift Control T, Shift Control F. Okay. This sucks. Okay. Screw that. Well, I haven't. Okay. And now, oh God, yeah, I'm all flustered now. Let's this horrible thing where you have to look all the way across the columns and all that. It just makes life, doesn't really, some of this stuff makes you look fancy, and it's, you know, so you can charge more fees and all that, but it really doesn't add much. And so what we're going to do is put in, first I'm going to put the timeline right at the top, and then below the timeline, let's use a conditional formatting just for the commercial operation date, and for the, now we're probably going to go way down. I suppose we could have gone all the way to the end. So I've just highlighted the whole kind of sheet. I didn't really want to do it. Yeah, I guess it's okay that we do it here. You know, that'll be fine. And then let's go to home, and go to conditional formatting and use our fancy new rule and use a formula to format. And let's this time look at the commercial operation date, and remember it's almost the same kind of thing. 1, 2, 3. F4, we want to hold it only on that line. So if that's true, the way that reads, that equals true, then let's format it and go to some light color. Okay? And while we're at it, why don't we do the same thing? Conditional formatting, new rule, use a formula to show you what to do, but this time let's go to this one, F4, and press enter and go to format and go to fill, and this time we'll make it a slightly different color and go across, and there it is. So my moaning about the finding stuff in this model is a small little bit alleviated, not much. Yeah, why didn't that true and false just work? That was just ridiculous. I need to try that one more time. Okay. Shift Control T. Okay. I apparently can't press the numbers on my keyboard. Okay. Now let's Alt W. That's Alt WW. That's a pretty cool one. Alt W is FF for freeze the panes. Okay, and we've got our inputs, and now we're going to begin our working analysis. And this, you remember, the basic model had some simple working analysis. This time, the plant capacity is going to be megawatts, and we'll put total capacity, and we get that input from here. But this time, we take that input, press the F4 button, and multiply that by the operation phase. We have no capacity. Shift Control R. Oops, don't worry about that one. Shift Control R, and hopefully it just took us to the end. And it looks like it never was there, but we had it, and it switched it off at the beginning, and we can look at the conditional formatting, and it switched it on at the end. Now, I didn't put the next input. Let's put the capacity factor. Okay, now, why don't we, and this is going to be as a percentage. Okay, but remember what we had here, and I'm going to try something I haven't done. We have a code number, and we also have things changing for different years. So let's use the match and the index for this. Let's see how we would do this. Okay, and if you're fancy, if you haven't used the match and the index before, you have to become eventually very snobbish about this business. Say, I'll use the index match. To use the index match, we need first the row number. Now, of course, you don't really need to do this. This could have all been part of the whole business, but to get just to illustrate how this works, we're going to put a match, and we're going to, let's use our opening date, our monthly date, and then let's click on this one. Now, this is a very rare case. When you use the match and the index, it's so much better to be able to click on an entire column. Now, I'm not a zero. If you pressed a dot comma 0, it would give me an exact match. 1 is less than whatever that means, but it gives you all the way up to that number, and then gives that. And if you had nothing, it would be the same as 1, of course. Okay. And then it gives us our NA, which, oops, what did I do? Let's make Shift Control R. It was really supposed to give you the NA, okay? And so we have, what this reads is it's the 5th row, the 4th row, the 3rd row, and so on and so forth, okay? And then we can put the column number, and the column number is match, and this time we're going to match the scenario that we want to select. This one, that's silly. Let's just put the column number as, the column number is just going to be the scenario number. We don't even have to put that in. That's ridiculous. Okay, so let's just put the index in. So now we put equal index, and you always, with the index, this is just, we've talked about this before, but this, you always start with an area. Okay, lock that, and then it wants the row number. Oops, that's the one we just did here. And then it wants the column number, and that's our scenario number. Now, I don't ever really do it like this, but I wanted to kind of show you how it works. And then we get Shift Control R, and it might not work. We have NAs, which are horrible, and then we get our capacity factor for the first year, and then it changed for the second year, and so on and so forth. So that kind of worked. Okay, so enough of the match and index for this one. Oh, we're going to use it so much more later. And then let's put now we can compute the generation. Now, again, let's be so careful with the, this is in megawatt hours, so all we have to do is take the megawatts multiplied by the capacity factor multiplied by how many hours we have in the period. And, you know, I think it will be good to just put an if statement if it's the operation phase. I wish Excel, instead of putting an NA, could you imagine how much better it would be to put in a false? Well, maybe one day they'll fix this, but for today, what we're going to do, or today, for this exercise, we're going to we'll make our own function that fixes this. Now for the Capex, the first thing I think we should do, we should enter is the S-curve. Spend curve, or S. Maybe somebody could tell me if it's called the S-curve because it generally looks like an S where you have small expenditures, big ones, and then they drop off after you in the testing stage, or it just means spend curve, S for spend, I don't know. Okay, that name seems to have stuck. And then we can have total Capex. Alright. Okay, now what we're going to have to do here is, why don't we, before we do this, do you remember we put the S-curve in terms of a annual, and we counted, we just wanted to count which year we are. So here's what we can, I think there are a number of ways we can do this, but put construction period, and then we can put construction year. Okay, so for the construction period, how about going back one and then just add in this true. So just in case you had something else. And then for the construction year, how about taking this divided by 12 and then just rounding that up and put it to the digit 0, okay? And then, so that's our first year, second year, fourth year. We had 5 years of construction in this thing, okay? Oh, that's, and then our S-curve this time, here's what, we have a little table. You could use the H lookup. But let's say later on you wanted to add a scenario for downside, for alternate, and you added a few rows. When you do that H lookup, it's going to totally screw everything up, because then you can't do anything. Putting somewhere in something in there where you can't insert lines or anything. So instead use the regular old lookup. It's not a really regular old lookup. It took me ages to figure out after people told me to do it. And we'll look it up, not on this one, but on this one. Lookup. And then here's how you do the lookup. You can just click on the entire line. Be lazy, remember? Click on this entire line, and then we're there. And then we better divide that by 12. Okay? Shift Control R. Okay? And I think we really should, if this is the period before the construction period, we should make sure that it doesn't go to 0, and there's another mistake. So I'm going to pause for just a... Okay, let's fix this stupid thing. I think if we use the lookup, we better put a 0 at the end. Okay. A little embarrassed by this one. Okay, and so this would be. Did that fix it? Yes. Okay. Oh, well, that was good. But that wasn't difficult. And then the other thing is, I'm going to do that at the end of the video. The other thing is, what happens if we have an accelerated construction period, and the why don't at least we put accumulated S-curve. We'll just take this one plus this one now. Oops, I'm still okay, and this accumulated S-curve better be 1. Now, if we have an accelerated period, perhaps this is only, I don't know, 0.9. And then when we go to our period right before the construction, this S-curve should be adjusted, so we just throw all the rest of the expenditures in and at least get it all to add up to 1. So I think we'll call this unadjusted S-curve. We'll put the accumulated S-curve, and then we'll put an adjustment. And finally, why don't we put our adjusted S curve in here. So yeah, why the adjustment I'm going to leave out for now, and we'll just have the unadjusted S curve plus the adjustment for now. Shift Control R works even if there's a blank line. So now we can put our total capital expenditures in on our capital expenditures. Why don't we put our, that's going to be in, let's make this in US, 1000s or something, and put total cost, and what was the total cost? I hope we kind of, or did we put the cost per, we put the cost per kilowatt. So cost per kW. Now if you take a kW, multiply it to megawatt, if you pay 2,000 for a kilowatt, you'd have to pay 2 million for a megawatt. We'd have to, so we put 2 million times 300, but we're going to put that in thousands. So by the time we're all finished, we'll take this one, and then, see, I was debating whether to put this one in the next column, and we can multiply that by S-curve, Shift Control 1, Shift Control Alt. Does that work? Oh, these are kind of, there's our capital expenditures. Okay, just a little bit on the S-curve. Now let's go to the EBITDA. We put some revenues in here first, revenues price assumptions, and we said, okay, there's a base price, but we could have an alternative growth rates. So there'll just be one or two issues with the growth rates. Excuse me, I don't know why I put it in kilowatt per month, but so this would be base merchant price and base price without growth, and then let's put, how about this time I'll put annual growth. Now we don't have an annual, so I'll put periodic slash monthly growth. Okay, and then we have a price index, and finally a nominal price. And if we got really crazy with our transparency objective, then we put generation, and that would be, this would be MWH. Ugh. This is ridiculous. Why would I have put this? Let's put this in USD per megawatt hour. Okay, that's ridiculous. I have no idea what was going on there, and so we multiply that together, but let's put this in USD of thousands because we have to keep things consistent. And then this is going to be one of the components of pre-tax cash flow, just like the total capital expenditures were. Okay, this video is going a little bit long, but I'm not going to stop right now. Okay, so let's put our merchant revenues. Let's go and find those. Merchant price, rather, and simply lock that in. Okay, I don't know if somebody says you could argue that you could do this now. The annual growth rate is just going to be a lookup. Okay, and on the lookup, let's click on first the year, I hope, and then we go up and we find the year for our growth rate, and then I hope you can see, and then just click on the entire row for the growth rate. Okay, Shift Control 5. Okay, Shift Control 5. Okay, think I have some new tea. Can I please have? Okay. And then now this we need to put it on a monthly basis. Now what you cannot do, excuse me, what you cannot do is just divide it by 12. What we have to do is put 1 plus the annual growth rate, and we raise it to the 1 divided by 12 power, and we put -1. Now, if this was some kind of other model that switched between semi-annual periods and quarterly periods or something like that, we could make this very, very flexible. Okay, let's put my tea down just a minute. Okay, and then so that's our base number. Now I'm going to pretend that these prices, the real price, was as of the beginning of the model. If that was the case, we can take the index from here, but we have to be very careful with those kind of things. So we'll put the last price 1 plus the index. Okay, and then we can just get our nominal price. You probably could have done this all in one line and be all proud of yourself, but that would have been a ridiculous thing to do because it's not transparent. I hope you, and now the generation, you're saying, what kind of idiot are you? You're just taking the generation, you already computed it just up here, but you want to make it for an old guy like me who can really understand these things. So we multiplied these together, and don't forget, we talked about dividing it by 1,000. And here we go. We have the revenues all computed. Done. Okay, and one last thing to do, and then this video will finally be over. Okay, and the operating expense here, remember what we did is we input 3 categories of operating expense, and we had an increase, and then we also put an inflation amount that changed. And look at this. What happened? Oh, somehow I deleted the base case inflation. Uh-oh. Okay, let's just make it. I forgot what we had. Oh, great. Okay. Okay. Okay, I'm back. I just had an appointment. Okay, and where were we? We were talking about operating expenses. And let's first get the operating expenses entered. Now, what we need to do before we get these so the very first thing we need to know is we need to know what the age of project in months, and then we need to put age of project in years. Okay, and this is very similar to what we did before, but not exactly the same, because all we do is use a different, instead of the construction phase, let's use the operating phase. So we're 0 years old all the way until 0 months old, excuse me, until we hit this, and then we eventually get very old, like I am. And then we can put round up and take this one divided by 12 and put 1. And oops, I was wondering, it leaves it as 0. Shift Control R. So let's just make sure we, oops, round up. I meant comma 0. Excuse me. Okay, we're still 0. We're 1 year old, 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old. And now we can put operating real. Why don't we call it real operating cost per KW? Okay. And that's, we use the lookup function. Again, oops, look. Oh, tab, as soon as you get it, just press tab. We put this is why we put the age in. We needed it for the lookup function. Unfortunately, this is almost a lesson. I should have structured this as a in a a row and stuff instead of a column, because now I have to press the F4 a couple of times, which I don't like doing because I'm so lazy. And then we get an NA, Shift Control, oops, and then you could Shift Control R. Now what you could do is you could put an if error around there, but this happens so often with the lookup. I'm going to try something a little bit new. I'm going to go to macros. When you enter these macros, it puts all these kind of special little ones in the X, with an X in front, so it'll keep them all. Should have used the Z instead, but okay. Let's go to maybe auto open 2 and go. I added the wrong one, I think. Okay, and I'm going to put sub functions. Or something. Okay, that we'll be able to find this because it doesn't show up. And let's make a function. Lookup 1. And what we're going to do is we need to read in what do you call this? Lookup value. The test array, and then the result. Array. Sorry about my spelling. That's my biggest problem with these things. And then somewhere it has to say lookup 1 equals. It has to give, I'll put a 0 here just for a minute. And what you can do is first just say, why don't we just say preliminary or something. Equals, and then you can type worksheet function dot lookup. Okay, and then we're going to just put our same things here. Value, and then test array, and then result array. And then after you get that, we'll say if we can we have to use another worksheet function. I was seeing if there was a dot is number and then preliminary. Then lookup 1 equal equal preliminary. Otherwise, lookup 1 equals 0, just like this. And if, I know that seems like a lot to do, but you could just plop this into your kind of generic macro, whatever you want to keep, and then you could just do this whenever you'd like. Okay, Okay, I'm back, and I lied. And because functions don't work whenever you have an NA, they go crazy. I had to make it a little more complicated. I had to make a loop that goes around and tests this lookup value, and whenever this lookup value, the age in our case, is less than or equal to, so let's say the age we're testing is 2, it's less than or equal to anything in the test array, which was the 120 or 1520, then we say we found it. We're okay, and then we put a found equal 1. If found equal, we found a value. Now, if it's 0, we say the lookup value is 0. That's greater than or equal to 1. No, it's greater than or equal to 20. No, greater than or equal to 15. No, it never found it, so found is left as 0. So when it's 1, we put the lookup function in. Otherwise, we switch it. And that's going to be part of your file. And it's a pain. But it's worthwhile for me to do it, that's for sure. Okay. And now let's put our inflation periodic inflation rate, and that's going to be, how about as a annual? Oh, as a percent. That's going to be our periodic percent. So let's, why don't we try our new lookup one? Lookup one, and this time we take the year, okay? Now, it didn't tell you what to do, so you could also just look up on this thing. You press the little function box if you make your own. And then you click on the year, and then you click on the result array, and you click OK. And then we have an inflation rate, Shift Control R, so hopefully put it in, but it didn't. Shit. I had to use our regular lookup function, excuse me for that. So that's our annual inflation rate. 1 plus this, raised to the 12th power, 1/12th power, minus 1 gives us our periodic inflation rate. So our inflation index, and why this time, let's put a start. Talk. Fixed O&M expenses and fixed O&M expenses in 2016 USD. So we're going to start with base. I'll put base period. And we'll put 1/1/2016 in US. Okay, and so let's just illustrate how that works on base. So for our base, we'll put inflation index as an index, but we'll put a base period, and we'll put this in here. Okay. And if we want to only start inflating after this period, what we do is we start with our 1 as usual, put an equal sign 1 plus this times 1 plus the inflation rate, but this time multiply that inflation rate by the starting of the period has to be greater than or equal to our thing at the side. Okay, and then now our inflation doesn't start until a later period. So that's how we really should make any kind of an inflation analysis, and then nominal Opex. And this is in USD thousands again. And let's put capacity, because this is this thing. Why don't we first? This, I'm getting in a hurry, but it's not worth it. And now we'll put nominal Opex per kW. Again, same unit. I'm really getting impatient. Okay, it's going to be just this inflation index multiplied by our number with no inflation, and finally we'll put the capacity up here, which was 300. I should have got it from the other place, but it doesn't really matter for me. Take this one, multiply by this one, and I think this one we don't multiply by 1,000 because it's spell capacity, right? Because this one is already, and yeah, and I made one mistake. Of course I made this on purpose. Why didn't I put this up here? This was per kilowatt per year. So when I did all this stuff, and we needed to divide this by 12. And this video is going on and on and on, so I'm going to stop it. And our next video is going to be computing pre-tax IRR and post-tax IRR and all the rest of these from our analysis. Okay, and finally we're at the end of this one, and in the file on the disk it will have a blank page and a completed page as normal, and I will also look into why that lookup one little function didn't work. That's the first time I ever tried it. Shouldn't try things for the very first time on a video, you know, that's kind of stupid, isn't it?